Hey y'all! Happy Thanksgiving and happy Black Friday. It is Steph and Cat Talk Wow, and we are here to discuss rematches and shocking twists and events that have taken place and rocked the world of our favorite superheroes. Again, this is Steph and Cat Talk Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs, and the rumor stutters. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape. Every one of us, I was kinda late, 'cause I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, 'cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate.
Hey, y'all. Like I said, it is Steph and Cat Talk Wow, brought to you by the Hardy Wrestling Podcast and In Cat We Trust. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Black Friday. Happy. It's the holiday season and it has kicked off in a mighty and major way. I am so excited for what it has to bring. Also, in terms of celebrating things, we have to say happy birthday to Katrina. Her birthday just passed, and we just have to say happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. I'm so glad you were born. I'm so glad you were born. I'm so glad you were born. Yeah. Okay. So I'm
Thank
Stephanie.
you.
Yes. Yes. So I'm Stephanie, of course, host and creator of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, HWP Extra, and co-creator of this fabulous show, and contributing writer for Daily DDT. But of course, I'm not alone. I am here with the wow. With the alphabet to my Glinda, let's say that, with the creator of In Cat We Trust, co-creator of this amazing show, and super mom, as well as backstage correspondent for various promotions inside of New York and New Jersey. And she's just a fabulous person overall who deserves to be celebrated each and every day. She is Katrina Blake. How are you, Kat?
Hey, thank you. Very sweet. I am okay. Very tired, but okay. Glad to be here. Birthday was what? Almost a week ago, which feels crazy. But I'm another year older, I guess. Hopefully wiser. I'm hoping going into the new year, make some other choices that'll be more wiser for my end. But glad to celebrate another year of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Life is about living and learning and, the mistakes. Of course, since we're human, we're going to make mistakes, right? But it's all about learning from those mistakes and just not, sitting in them and stewing in them and just moving forward and just making, progress. And that's all that matters. And I am so glad that you are here to tell the story. And honestly, that's all that matters is that we're here to tell the story of our lives and try to make the world as much of a better place as we possibly can. And the world is a better place because you are in it, Kat. And I am just so happy to be on this journey with you as your friend. And I feel like I have been changed for good. And if I continue to make more wicked references, it's because I saw the movie and I've seen the play and I love it. And, just ignore me because I'm just going to keep doing that because I'm obsessed. So, yes, we are here to talk about the most recent episode of WoW Superheroes, our favorite women of wrestling. And of course, if you have not already checked it out, check out our interview with Goldie Collins, one half of Animal Instinct and The Gold Standard. It's available on both of our YouTube channels. We had such an amazing time talking to her in light of the episode that we are about to discuss. So please check that out. It was such a fabulous time, and we just want to thank her and the WoW Superheroes crew for allowing us to, talk to them and speak with the girls and just continue to just show love and support towards them. But in terms of WoW news, This weekend is WrestleCade, which is basically like a Comic Con, except it's mostly centered on wrestling. There are multiple forms of wrestling conventions just like this that are throughout the year. And more of our WoW superheroes are actually getting in on the action. And I'm really happy to say that Penelope Pink and Miami Sweet Heat, the WoW Tag Team Champions, will be a part of the lineup for WrestleCade this weekend. So this was really great. This was a really great announcement to see on my socials. I was like, okay, look at the girls getting in on more of the convention stuff. As they grow their audience, so they will be there, as well as Nigel Zane will also be there as well. So if you're in the North Carolina area, please go to WrestleCade and show our girls some love. There was also an announcement that Penelope Pink and Sandy Shore will also be in the at New Level Championship Wrestling in Augusta, Georgia. And sadly, I don't have the picture for that, and I guess it just slipped my mind to put it there, but I am just happy to see these ladies getting more into the action of independent wrestling as well as wrestling conventions like this, because this is a major television show, and it's just really great to see them getting this type of exposure. So, Katrina, how do you feel about more exposure from the WoW front when it comes to stuff like this and events like this?
I think it's cool. I know in particular Penelope does have, another when she wrestles outside of WoW, and then she's in a lot of places. But it is nice to kind of see some of the girls, even though they are part of the same stable, um, in a place that is known for. I feel like Survivor Series weekend we're gonna get WrestleCade. I feel like that's been it for the last few years, and I know quite a few people that I call friends that are there this weekend as well. If they're doing, I know one of my friends is doing some interviews, if I'm not mistaken, and the other one is doing, I believe, some ring announcing or something like that, or so that's just on the back end level. So there's quite a few wrestlers I know also that I call friends that are there, and so it's really cool that they're doing that. But it's even more cool, obviously, to see some of the girlies from WoW kind of be again anytime they can be introduced to people who may or may not know WoW just yet. I think this is the perfect way to do it because WrestleCade, like we had LA Comic Con, and that was great and that was fine. But LA Comic Con is also just like the Los Angeles market, and I say that if it's one of the smaller cons compared to all the really huge cons that happen over the year, it's a lot of them. So WrestleCade is like a really big thing for wrestling. I think this is a perfect way to introduce them to other people, and so I'm happy for them. And congratulations, ladies! I hope you guys kill it.
Absolutely. I'm so excited for them. And I'm big ups to all the other wrestlers and other ring announcers and people who get to work those events surrounding it. It's really great. And then on top of that, with it being Survivor Series, being surrounded by the energy of another Big Four pay per view, it's just always really amazing stuff to see. And then, of course, you have women's wrestling continuing to progress in the War Games match as well. So it's just really cool stuff that continues to happen in the world of women's wrestling as a whole. So we just love forward progression forward progression in all things. So let's get to this episode. My God, there is so much to get into, but the name of this episode was called A Smart Main Event, which aired last weekend, November 23rd and the 24th. The show started with Samantha Smart and the Classmaster coming out and speaking to the Wowiverse. And Samantha, of course, cutting a promo insulting the intelligence of every person in the room, saying everyone here could benefit from a little math lesson. Let's start with a real easy. Stupid plus stupid equals really stupid. So shut up. And I was just like, oh, so stupid squared. But I know that's multiplication, but we're just gonna move on. Um, Today marks an important day in history. The last day the Beast holds our title. She calls herself the biggest, and she calls herself the baddest. After today, she can call herself the beltless. It's time for the era of IQ superiors reign. So after she cut that promo, she strutted off as Classmaster prepared for her main event match against the Beast, and we go into our first match, which is the Alliance, with Gigi Gianni, Reina Del Rey, and BK Rhythm, versus the Mighty Mites and Keta Rush, and Adriana Gambino, the leader, was on commentary. But of course, since BK Rhythm was out here, she decided to drop some bars on us. And of course, we know how Katrina feels about BK's bars, but either way, we're gonna go through them anyway. She said, "Okay, everybody, pipe down. The Alliance has something to say. I'm rising to the top with my crew. Raina here could actually destroy all three of you. And I don't mean to be a bully, but Keita, fess up. Why are you teaming with mustard and ketchup?" Now, I feel like in talking about sugar and spice being dressed like mustard and ketchup, I think there was something that maybe BK was missing a little bit of. Katrina, what do you think she was missing?
Well, I don't know if you're about to say on reference to that song that I've been hearing everybody say in the last few days, and I'm like, Jesus. I don't know if that's what you meant. That should have been missing from that. But again, you know how I feel about BK's bars. Every time I'm just like, girl, every time. I just like I want to give her a chance. And then she says something and I'm like, yeah, no, this is why I didn't give you a chance for the bars. This is why. But I'm gonna assume you were meaning I mean, unless I'm wrong, I was gonna assume you meant from that song that everybody's been playing around with the mustard, like let's stretch that word out. Uh and yell.
I couldn't help it. I'm sorry, Kat. I couldn't help it. That's just what she was missing. When I was watching it, I was just like, wait a minute. Mustard and ketchup. I was like, she really was missing that. I mean, they film in California. Kendrick Lamar is the premier California rapper. I mean, you could have just added that part in there, but I guess that was just a little bit too. I'm sorry, Kat. I just that's been Kendrick Lamar has been the joy of my life this whole year. He has been one of the greatest joys of my life this entire year, and his surprise album was just another one of those things. And that ad lib right there is just it's just fantastic. I just love him so dearly. He's my favorite male rapper. So to see him go on this run has just been fantastic. But he just does crazy stuff in his songs and it just goes viral and you just have to go with it. But I'm sure at some point it'll die down. I'm sure it will, Cat, I'm sure. But to get back to the match though, um Keita Rush got started with the match, and her kickboxing prowess was definitely on display here with Sugar and her agility. There was one impressive part of the match where they both hit like a double Japanese arm drag in terms of Sugar and Spice and a double drop toe hold. And then, of course, there was one point where one of the girls from the Alliance tagged in Reina, and Reina was just acting like she was just, so imposing that she couldn't be knocked down. But she actually gave like a double suplex to Sugar and Spice that would almost make you wince and make you wonder, like, how in the world are the Mighty Mites even going to come out of that? It was crazy. Then Gigi and BK proceeded to trip up Sugar and actually had knee blows to her abdomen. Kita and Spice actually tagged in and hit like a series of double drop kicks to Reina Del Rey in order to try to knock her down further. But as the match went on, Reina Del Rey got the upper hand by hitting a Stu Nod splash. I believe that's what Adriana Gambino called it on commentary to be along with BK and Gigi as they held up Sugar and Spice, and that's the picture of it right there. And they knocked them down and they won the match. So the alliance is really out here, not just proving not just saying that they're a dominant force, but they're actually being it and just having each other's backs and just sort of watching out for each other. Whereas you have Adriana bigging them up on commentary a whole lot more as well. Her confidence in these women is very prevalent. So after the match took place, Adriana got in and cut a promo saying, "When you make the perfect sauce, you need the perfect ingredients. And that's what I had in mind when I made the perfect alliance. Each person brings their own thing to the table." And then Gigi snatched the microphone out of Adriana's hands, which was interesting. And she said, "And we wouldn't be the alliance without the muscle, Reina Del Rey, the flow, BK Rhythm, and the beauty," referring to herself. But then Adriana snatched the microphone back and said, "You forgot the most important part, the brains." And then Gigi said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, I was just about to mention you." And then Adriana said, "We are the alliance." And that was the end of their segment with each other. So yeah, even though this was a pretty back it was a good back and forth trios match, the alliance still, powered through the Mighty Mites and Keta Rush. So this was a pretty good match to start. So Katrina, how did you feel about the match and the dynamic of the alliance since they've been fighting with each other? And how do you feel about that little snatching of the microphone between Adriana and Gigi at the end?
I do think that the match was a good way to open the episode. I do think there was some back and forth. What I would say is I do think that the ones who won this should have. Only because I do think because they have now been working together for some time, that I'm a firm believer that obviously the longer you may work with somebody, usually the better the chemistry and the better how you are able to read the other person in the match. And this is not saying that, the Mighty Mites and, Kita can't. It's just, for a bit, the Alliance, before they even had a name, were working semi together. There was the little pieces we've been seeing before they kind of officially was like, this is us. This is what we're doing. With that being said, as it always seems to be with a lot of heel factions, sometimes there's going to be a level of, well, who's in charge? Or who's the one who's making calls or who's the one doing this. And I do think, from what I remember of Gigi, before she kind of joined with them, and then what I remember of Adriana, again, the same thing before she's joined with them, both of them kind of had a way they went about things. And so the fact that they were snatching the mics, I was like, is this alliance gonna last as long as we think? Maybe not. Because it wasn't even necessarily, I don't know if it was too much of a space between her saying she was going to get to her, or was it you wasn't allowing her to even have the time to say it? I can't tell if it was one or the other just yet. If it was generally, oh, you were trying to be a little shady, or you wasn't allowing her to even get there yet. Not sure yet. But that's will probably be an issue later on. BK was always BK since we've seen her in this iteration. I didn't really expect her to be, this is, and as far as Rena, she's usually was a bit muscle or just kind of wanting to get in the ring and have matches where she might have to be a little bit more aggressive than maybe somebody else in the locker room. So those two, again, I expect certain things from them. But the other two is, again, how many can we have too many leaders in a group? Usually, no. Can we have where it's like the group members are okay with, like, okay, this person's doing this time, we got the next time, or as a blended effort? A lot of times, especially with heel type factions, that's a problem. And so I will not be surprised if quite soon this might be an issue later on where it might be some like, so you forgot about me again, or you're not acknowledging me, or who do you think you are? You're not the one necessarily wrestling at the moment, even though she was on a bit of a streak herself before she was aligned. And I'm not really sure why they took that. Because I was interested to see what she was going to do solo, because she was also undefeated. Um, and then all of a sudden, it was a group thing. Um, and so I'm a little, this might tie in even back to that at one point she was undefeated. She was one of the few that was undefeated in WoW, and then she kind of took a bit of a hiatus. And then next minute she's with a group. And so I don't know if that'll play into the fact that I forget the streak with her. And so is this why she might be feeling a little weight? Because like, hello, I of the four, she was undefeated of that group currently. So we'll see. But I wasn't surprised. I feel like anytime there's ever, it's always that side eyeing because you're doing too much, or you think you over it. And a lot of times people don't. It's egos, so a lot of people don't want to be okay with just falling back for a moment if they need to fall back for a moment or taking it offensively or whatever the case may be. But I thought it was a good match. But I would not be surprised in a few weeks. All of a sudden, there is some beef within the alliance.
Yeah, I feel, I'm glad you mentioned the fact that Gigi and Adriana had their way of doing things before, because that sort of feeds into, I guess, why their attitudes were a little bit similar and yet shifted at the same time, because a lot of people feel that when you're in friendship or in relationship with someone, that you have to have everything alike to where you guys can get along. But in some cases that can usually be the worst thing for you if you're in relationship with someone who is just like you, because that actually gives you more credence to clash more than anything else. And I feel like that could be what we're seeing here between Gigi and Adriana. And, you know, with you saying that the alliance might not last as long, I think that's interesting that you would say that, considering for a minute, Reina Del Rey, even on her own, was very imposing and was always wanting to go for the WoW title until she linked up with Wrecking Ball, or, and all of that when she was beefing with the Beast and Tormenta. And even with BK and Gigi, they had their whole little thing going on. And then, like you said, Adriana was undefeated by herself. And it's almost like they're trying, between Adriana and Gigi, like all these different personalities could try to captain a boat and try to make it go the way that they think it should go. But in actuality, they're just going to be in a circle in the sea, and it's going to make them be lost. Um, like it's gonna make them be lost because they all just have they're all each their own person. And sometimes when you're so much of your own person, you don't know how to, you know, to like keep yourself down to a point to be in partnership with someone else. And I feel like that could happen because even on commentary, when David and Nigel were asking Adriana if they wanted to go after the trios titles or if they wanted to go after the tag titles, it seemed like she didn't have a specific plan for that. And the one thing that all of the factions in WoW have a tendency to have is like they have a specific mission, a very single minded mission to go after this title, to go after this thing or this level of glory. And the fact that the Alliance doesn't have one, but yet they keep winning matches is just really interesting to me. And that might make me feel like you do, and feeling like they might not last this long. But like we both said, we just have to wait and see, how this goes. But it really could be the notion of all these, women have their own personalities to the point to where they feel like one should be the captain and I should be the captain, da, 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 but then in actuality it's going to wind up breaking their boat in half and they're going to sink. So you just never know. But yeah, I just thought that interaction was very interesting at the end. I was like, huh, not y'all snatching. I like that's one of my biggest pet peeves. Don't snatch anything out my hand. Take it right. Yeah. So that was interesting. So this leads us into match number two, which was another trios match between Fury, Sylvia Sanchez, and Genesis versus Team Island Rave to the Grave, Holidead, Chantilly Chella, and Island Girl Kalaki. Now this was one of the rematches from last week that we saw, because of course Team Genesis, Sylvia, and Fury won under underhanded means. So I guess they wanted to go for it again just to see who would actually wind up on top. And Genesis, of course, was just being just apprehensive the whole time, not wanting to be there, not wanting to be in a trios match because she wants to go on her singles journey. But either way, she was still participating as much as she decided she wanted to. So, once the match got started, Holidead and her crew just started blasting through Fury, Sylvia, and Genesis like so quickly. Like it was like a brawl before the bell was even able to ring. Of course, Genesis didn't really want to be there. Holidead was giving her hard hits and power lifts to Fury, and this really well, it didn't surprise me because Holidead has shown her strength before, but lifting someone like Fury was just like, yo, holy cow, like she's lifting her up. But then Genesis decided to get the upper hand on Holiday by targeting her arm in the ropes, and then Sylvia proceeded to take advantage and do just the same, um, with stomps to her arm and hitting a step up leg drop onto her. But as the match continued to go on, Genesis was getting into it with David McLane on commentary and yelling at him, saying, "Oh, you like that? You like that? Is that good enough for you?" And then after the war of words, she leaps off of the apron and walks away from the match, leaving the trios match to basically be a handicap match with 3-on-2. And in the end, Holiday tagged Chantilly Chella in, and she used her kicks and double knees to Fury to get more of the upper hand. And then Kalaki hit a snap turning suplex, and Sylvia tried to hit a roll up pin, but Holiday reversed it, calling back to the way that the other team won last week and got the cover for the 1-2-3. And Team Island Rave to the Grave wound up winning the match. So this was really interesting, but it was a really good high octane match to get it started. But Genesis walking out was just like, yo, dang, she really don't want to do this. But Katrina, how did you feel about the action in this match and Genesis walking out, which led to the victory of Team Island Rave to the Grave?
So I know this is supposed to be like a rematch, rather, but I feel like Genesis' actions was not surprising to me. I feel like we've heard her say many times when she was even part of um crap, what were they? Oh man, I can't think of the name of the team right now. But when she was part of,
Exile?
there you go, yes, Exile. That she was part of the group, she was fine with that, and then their leader left, and then here she was, feeling a bit disrespected that she wasn't looked to as the next natural leader of Exile. And she said that many times that she don't need anybody, she can do this by herself, etc., etc., etc. And you then put her in a moment where it looks okay, maybe she'll get some solo matches, build to what she wants to build to. And now you're putting her again in group type action when she already was part of a trio in Exile. And especially how that all played out, even with those trios tournament, with everything. I would honestly understand why. I don't know if I would have necessarily walked out. I don't know if I would necessarily would have agreed to the match per se. Because if I already said, well, you kind of let some shenanigans happen, then, David, to be fair, have let quite a few shenanigans happen, I feel, over the last few seasons with certain things. I'm like, I'm sorry, are we not watching the same program, my guy? Why is you, as the person in charge, letting these things, like, you have no type of control or reign? You can't reign in the locker room? Like, I don't understand. And so you saw what happened when her actual team, a team she had from the very beginning, as far as in this iteration of, well, basically got scammed out of the trios. I do believe, and I said this many times, that they probably should have won those. I felt like if we're not even going off just trios, they were literally your trio. They was from the beginning. You kind of had some other, team get put together, and then we got top tier, and they become and all this other thing, and it's like, already side eyeing, but fine. So she accepted that begrudgingly, but accepted it, and then you put her back with two other people she don't necessarily want to be with when she's been saying she kind of want to go solo. I'm not surprised that she did it. Now, is it the right thing? No, I don't think it was necessarily that's the way you go about that, but I can't say I'm surprised because she has been saying for months she was over the teaming up. She was over that. She wanted to just be solo and do her thing solo. And so I would have been very surprised if, you know, Chantilly and Holidead and Tiki would have lost. because it's like, I'm sorry, this was now a handicap match. Yeah, I should have had it. You have somebody, that's very tough in Holidead. You got two other girlies who are very versatile and can usually kind of move the way they need to move in a match to get an outcome. And I think they, did that well. And so they should have won, but I'm not surprised. I feel like while the match was good, Genesis was not in that. She was not. Her head was not, as High School Musical said, getting the head in, having your head in the game. She was not there. Her head was not in that space. And I can't say, David, are we surprised? Because my guy, I feel like anybody can see Genesis was not going to be happy again, being in another match again, in a with two other people she didn't want to team up in the first time. So I wasn't surprised, and I did see her post about it. And she did make, a reference about this seems to be the theme of the weekend, which we'll get there, as far as having the need to just walk away from something. And so I don't know if she's necessarily wrong. Because I don't think I would have done it that way, but I do kind of understand some sentiment of. But I thought we had this discussion. Like, I don't particularly like repeat myself either. And so that I can understand.
Yeah, I could understand it too when you're being made to do something that you know in your heart that you don't want to do. Like, I feel that 100%. But I feel like walking out on the job is just a little bit of a weird way of doing it myself. Like, I feel like, yeah, you might have expressed your distaste in not wanting to be there, but at the same time, have the decency enough to fight with your team at one, like, and finish the job first before you just walk out. Like, now, mind you, there have been moments where I've walked out of things and not given notice. I mean, life is life. But but at the same time, I just feel like in this case, maybe walking out just wasn't exactly the best thing for her to do. But at the same time, it was, I guess, organic for her to want to do, so she just did it. But either way, I just thought the action in the match was just really fire. I love seeing Team Island rave to the grave together and just seeing everything that they're able to pull off as a trios team. So I am excited to see them possibly go after the trios titles at some point. I'm definitely here for that. But I just hope that somewhere down the line we see Fury sort of doing more of her own thing. I feel like I keep repeating this a lot. Um, I want to see Fury sort of do her own thing and be strong on her own and not just default back to being in a partnership with somebody. And I just want to see Genesis sort of stand on business with that as well. Because you did mention that she made a post talking about, being on her own outside of exile and stuff. But at the same time, I want to see those in charge, like David, actually give her the ball and just let her play with it in terms of being a singles girl. Like, let her do it. Like, let her show us what she can do. Considering this world title picture is going to look very different, we need to start doing some different things. But we're going to get to that a little bit later. So after this match, we had a backstage segment involving Big Rig Betty and Jesse Jones. And Big Rig Betty has, a little bit of a new look going on. She's not really dressed like a trucker anymore. She has on the shorts and the tank tops that we normally see Jesse Jones wearing, and she has her hair in like these two ponytails that look really cute, but she has on that hat along with Jesse Jones that we will not discuss here. But either way, it seems that her and Jesse Jones have formed an alliance now. That they've said that they have formed years before Holly Swag was born. In terms of outside of WoW, which we did see a little bit of on social media, with them being tag partners. So Big Rig decided to direct her words squarely at her daughter and say, "Little Rig, you may think you're smart beating up on your mama so you can join the Fab Four, but let me tell you something. Everything that glitters isn't gold, baby." And Jesse said, "Speaking of things that glitter, Lana Star, you need to give us a shot at those WoW tag team titles. And just to make it worth your while, how about this? If we lose, we'll go back to Jackson, Tennessee, and you'll never see us again. So what's it gonna be, sweet heat?" And it looks like, later on in the show, we did see an answer from Miami Sweet Heat, and they said that they weren't going to spill their champagne thinking about them and that they're so busy making money that they're not really thinking about them in that way. But they did accept their challenge and they did a dig. They basically took a dig at Big Rig Betty by saying that they took Holly's swag from her and that, we'll send you back to Jackson, Tennessee and to Kentucky so fast it'll make your head spin. So we do have a tag team title match on the horizon between those women. And yeah, who would have thought it would have ever come to this? I never saw this coming. So, Kat, how do you feel about that challenge that was laid down and how it was accepted by Miami Sweet Heat?
Not surprised. On either end about the challenge, but especially about Miami Sweet Heat. I feel like that is the attitude they're on. Like, I mean, I guess it was. I felt like the way they responded, it was the I guess, and I say I guess in that tone quite often. Where I'll be like, I guess, like irritated, and I felt like that's what they responded to that challenge with, like, well, if we must, I guess, like that's what we're gonna do, I guess. And I feel like even like they're not even concerned, and so I don't even think they're worried about even losing anything. I just think they're just like whatever. If we have to do it, we have to do it. But I don't get the vibes that they're like worried or concerned that their titles might be at risk. So I was okay with it. But I wasn't surprised by either or like either side of that. Well, what about us? But also like, okay, guess we do your little challenge or whatever. I feel like that's what the vibe I got from that about like not spilling on that. Just that like, okay, well, okay, we'll deal with that. It was like that kind of vibe I got from the way they answered the challenge.
Yeah, they were so busy drinking a little bit of their bubbly that it's almost like they really don't give a D, who they have to fight. They're just so confident now in their championness and with the Fab Four coming out there that it's almost like, okay, we're gonna beat y'all and y'all are gonna be sent home packing. I mean, and it also makes you wonder what the strategy of Jesse Jones and Big Rig Betty is going to be, considering when you're fighting the Carlson twins, you're not just fighting the sisters, you're fighting everybody. You're going to be fighting Holly, you're going to be fighting Penelope, maybe. Because here again, she doesn't seem to be too thrilled about the fact that Holly's there, and you're gonna be fighting the fabulous Lana Star too. So a part of me just wonders, like, do they even have a plan? Like, I hope they do, essentially. But if they don't, and they're just gonna go into it with bravado, then I guess so be it. Then, but I hope that Big Rig Betty and Jesse Jones have a plan to just not, you know, and to just even up the odds because it's not going to be a fair fight. And can you imagine WoW without Jesse, like, and without Big Rig Betty? But mostly without Jessie because Jessie's like she's a WoW OG. So for her to not be there, that would kind of suck. I'd be like, Jessie, what's going on? No, no. But yeah, I don't know. We just gotta wait and see. So after that backstage segment, this leads us to match number 3, which was another tag team rematch between Animal Instinct Goldie Collins, another friend of the pod, and Katarina Jinx versus the Fierce Sisters Roxy and Foxy. So this was a very heated match, I'll say, because Goldie and Roxy started it off, and all of these women, even though they started off the match properly, it turned into more of a brawl towards the beginning of the match because they were just really heated. The Fierce Sisters were heated with how the match went the first time. Goldie Collins was actually running away from Roxy because Roxy had a point to prove. Okay, she came in here like ready to throw them blows and really like get to the nitty gritty and fight. And it was just too much for Goldie at first. Then Katarina actually like there was one point where Goldie actually used the strategy that she was telling us about to goad Roxy in, and then Katarina actually snuck a kick onto her outside of the ring, and that was really impressive. Then of course Goldie's strength was on display when she actually hit a suplex onto her, and as you can see in that picture, that was after Katarina actually scratched the back of Roxy, and then Goldie actually slung Roxy's head together with sort of like a neck breaker onto the ropes. It was really nuts at first, but eventually once Roxy was able to tag in Foxy after she sustained like a submission move that was very impressive from Katarina, Foxy came in with a whole lot of fire, and then her and her sister ducked and ducked like a double clothesline attempt from Animal Instinct and gave double roll up pins for the 1, 2, 3. And the Fierce sisters got their revenge on Animal Instinct and they won. And they cut a promo afterward with David McLane talking about, how driven they were and how fierce they were and how fierce they were. And let's just listen in on
It
it.
feels amazing. And our message to Animal Instinct is that cheating gets you nowhere. Tell him something, sis.
Your little sister did a hell of a job tonight. What's it feeling like to get the victory with your big sister tonight, Foxxy and Roxxy?
Let me tell you something, David. It feels sweet and fierce, okay? Y'all tried to cheat the Fierce sisters? Is you out your mind?
Is you out your mind? That gave me so much life. I kid you not. Y'all tried to cheat us. Is you out your mind? You tried to trick us. You tried and you failed. That was awesome. There was so much fire from Roxy, and I just enjoy that. Enjoy seeing that fire, whether it's in the ring and out of the ring. They were very passionate about this victory that they got, and I'm just really excited for them with that. So, congratulations to the Fierce Sisters. So, Katrina, how did you feel about the match and what they said afterward? Is you out your mind? Like,
I thought it was a really good match. I thought it was, it's unfortunate for Animal Instinct only because we did just interview Goldie Collins and it was supposed to be in tying in with this episode. So kind of the interviewing for the match to be lost is like, from that standpoint. But I do think that, Foxy in particular had to deal with some BS before last season, and then she was gone for months. And so you kind of came back, you got your little sister in tow, and then you were kind of had some shenanigans happen in the last time you faced this other team. And so I know personally, because I'm a petty person, that if somebody do some shenanigans and I won, never hear an end of it. I'm gonna be so extra because you chose to do nonsense. I'm gonna be petty. Um, I always think stuff like that, like this time, like this was like high school though. But basically I was kind of like defending a friend, to be fair. But my history teacher used to do like history Jeopardy or whatever, and I had him for that year, 2 semester, did a 2 breakdowns or whatever. So the first time I did it, I won it. Got the 100. So it's like basically if you won the Jeopardy, you got 100 for the class. So I was like at a 98, and so I was already doing well in the class. Second time I got that 100, I already had it. But I remember because this girl did something to my friend, and I was like, "You made my friend cry." Okay, I'm gonna be petty. I'm gonna be petty. So I played again. I didn't need to play it, but I'm like, unfortunately for the rest of the class, I'm like, y'all gonna have to accept not winning this because I'm gonna beat this girl, and I did badly. And I like it's to that level of petty with this whole like. Even with her response after being, "Are you out your mind?" is exactly how I look. I felt that in my soul because that's exactly what I think. If people do nonsense, if people do shenanigans, and people like, excuse me, that's literally my thing. Is are you crazy? Like, are like like that's literally the energy I have. And again, I'm a petty person, and so like it just that level of like talking some shit afterwards, which I think that's and it was rightful shit, but still talking that like oh, you thought that kind of vibes. And it just made me slightly think of that situation where I was like, unfortunately for everybody else, now I have to beat this girl to prove a point. Not my friend. And and that was just my friend. That's not even like a relative. This is a friend of mine I don't even speak to anymore. But at the time, she was one of my best friends. And so you hurt my friend. I got this. Like that's how in my head it is. And it's 100 times worse with my family and so I can understand that level. Like Foxy was saying something, but Roxy had a whole different level of energy of like, and it's funny because she's a little sister. I feel like she's how I am, and I'm the oldest. Where it's like, excuse me, okay, if this is the game we're playing, okay, because you're not gonna out petty Katrina. That's how I see. That's how I always see things. And so I love doing. I thought it was fantastic. I loved the energy. I'm not too sure why David asked the question when he got to Roxy because it was like, well, I'm sure she knows that that's Hello and Foxy. That is her sister. It was kind of weird to ask the question in the middle of the interview, the way he worded it, I guess, but that's maybe me just being very picky about things. But I love the energy, and in particular from Roxy, because that's me in a nutshell. This does the like, are you out your mind? Like, are we? It's like the equivalent, are we dead ass? Like I ask that quite often. Like, are we dead ass? Like this we do it. Like that's the little level of how it is when she said. I was like, yo, that's exactly like when I say, are you dead ass? Like, excuse me, to make sure we all on the same page here before my next response. That's literally what I felt when I heard that, and I was like, yes, girly, because that's exactly how I am. Facts. And so I thought it was a good win, but even more so, I did love the promo because that's just how my energy be with people and their nonsense.
That is so funny. I feel like hearing the word dead ass from from the origins of where it actually comes from just makes me so happy. Like I can't explain I can't explain the type of joy that I get hearing people from New York say the word dead ass. It's just like, yes, like they mean it. Like it's just
I actually hate when people from not from New York say it. I'm like, don't do that. Like, I always feel like certain things. I'm like, can we not? Like, can we not make everything universal? It's when I hear dead ass somebody who's not from New York, I'm like, ew, do better. Pick another word. Like, don't do dead ass. And so, yes, when I have to say, are we dead ass? That's me being serious. Like, oh, we serious? Okay. Yep.
Yeah, see the thing that I do sometimes when people make me mad though, and I reach my point where I do speak up because it takes a lot, like for me to really speak up like that because I hate confrontation. But when somebody really finds me on the wrong day, like I'll ask you a question first before I decide to just before I proceed to tell you all the ways in which you have me messed up. So I definitely get it. And honestly, Roxy was on that type of time, and I'm so happy that she is always the one that's on that type of time. It's like clearly Foxy is the one. Foxy's the oldest. She has older sibling vibes where she's gonna like kind of like me, where I'm just gonna tell you, okay, we're happy to get the win. We're this, and she's very, prim and proper and stuff like that. Whereas Roxy reminds me of my sister who's just like, look, I'm just gonna tell you how it is, you know, from like the street side of things and boom and pow and all of that. And I like that type of energy that they just have. And Roxy just has it. She has that energy in space, not even just in her words, but also in the ring. She's just so tough. And she is just fiery and just ready to get to fighting. And I like that energy. I just like it. So it was just really cool. And it's so funny you mentioned History Jeopardy. We played History Jeopardy in high school too. And especially in US history in the 10th grade, I used to kick butt at that as well. Like history is like one of my favorite subjects. So I remember one time we was playing History Jeopardy and my classmates got mad at me because I kept answering all the questions. It was like, Stephanie, put your hand down. And I'm just like, no. Um, get on my level. Study. I was like, get up.
History is also one of my favorite subjects as well. And we didn't even do hands. We had it in Jeopardy form. We were literally contestants. We built up to the last three. And
Oh,
the first
okay.
time I did it because I wanted the 100, but that second time I had the 100. I did so well that second half of that semester of that year that I had the 100 already. But it was just like I had to prove a point because I was being petty. I was like, "Oh, you okay? Now you losing. I'm gonna make it my business to make sure you don't win." Now did it suck for it sucked for everybody else because I'm like, "You probably wanted that 100, didn't you?" But in my head, it was right because this is my friend, and how dare you? Or like I said, are we dead ass? Okay, I'm gonna show you. And so that's why I did it. And so just that level of like, are you like that level of just like, excuse me? Okay. I'm gonna let you know, not me. Don't try this with me. And so that's just the energy. But yeah, I definitely was telling people, like he was jokingly calling me an encyclopedia. He was like, you were saying the answer before I even got the question out. I was like, because I know it. So like like if they had no English Jeopardy, English is more of a writing issue of anything, and I am a writer, so that's clearly I know that. But like history is one of my favorite subjects as well, and so I knew my shit, and so yeah, that was me being petty. I didn't really have to play that second time. It was just like, oh, she's not winning. I don't care.
Yeah, it's
Like,
like you're like Kendrick, you inherited the beef. Like for her, I'll inherit the beef. Look at that pushing T. Let me see you push a T. That's what you were doing. And you had that energy. And I get that. Because sometimes you just have to do stuff like that, to get the point across that you are not to be played with. And that's what the Fierce Sisters did. They let us know that they are not to be played with in the Wild Tag division. So, once all this stuff with the Fab Four and Big Rig Betty and Jesse Jones is over, maybe they could challenge for the tag titles. And that would be really awesome because, just seeing black female women's tag team champions is something I'll never tire of. So if they were to ever, do that, I would be really pumped about it. But I'm also really pumped to wonder how would it be if Roxy decided to go on her own solo. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see how that happens or how that coalesces. But either way, those women won and they kicked all kinds of butt. And it was cool. So yeah. Is you out your mind? Yeah, exactly. I love it. So going into the main event, we gotta get to um serious deals here. We thought we had the Classmaster versus the Beast for the Wild World title. But as it turns out, the Beast did not show up. Here again for like they said the second time, or basically like the second time in the whole part of this third season, she hasn't shown up for this title match. Even though David said he was in contact with her, she just had not shown up. So in the midst of them trying to get answers and the fans chanting, "Where's the beast? Where's the beast?" They come back from commercial, and Santana Garrett comes out and says that she, had a beef to settle with Samantha Smart getting in her business from their last match together. And so she said, "So since you need a main event, I'll take the beast place and fight the Classmaster." And the Classmaster seemed very upset about this, but this is the only main event that they had to deal with right here. So they went ahead with the match. So it was the Classmaster versus Santana Garrett in this main event. It was a very powerful, hard hitting match from both of these women. Santana and the Classmaster sought to get the upper hand on each other by trading um arm twists and submissions. Classmaster locked in a sitting full Nelson onto Santana, and I thought that was very impressive. But as the match got underway, while referee Jeff McGowan brought David and Nigel a flash drive which held a video from the Beast, and they were going to play it in the truck after the match took place. So Classmaster proceeded to get the upper hand onto Santana Garrett throughout the match with kicks to her, and then she was locking in the Scholar Collar, which I feel like is one of the most impressive submissions that I've seen a woman do. I feel like not enough emphasis is placed on how impressive of a submission the Scholar Collar is, because at one point it looks like she's about to grab your leg for something else, but then she twists herself around and then grabs the arm and basically like wrenches you backwards. Like I feel like not enough commotion is made about the Scholar Collar, and I'm here to give it its proper due as like a very proper submission. Like it's great. I like seeing her execute it. But Santana, of course, fought out of everything that the Classmaster was throwing at her, including a torture rack. They proceeded to beat each other with elbow strikes over and over again. But then, of course, Samantha Smart likes to insert her nose into other folks' business, and she tried to hit Santana Garrett with her ruler, but then she wound up hitting the Classmaster because Santana ducked out of the way. And just when it looked like Santana was about to get the upper hand and win, the Classmaster covered her up with and put her feet on the ropes and covered her for the 1, 2, 3. And the Classmaster won the match. So as the Classmaster was celebrating, we switched over to the Beast and her video. And she talked about how she wanted to be an inspiration to the people watching WoW by doing the right thing and winning the WoW World title and working hard for her goals in wrestling by being the right type of champion. But but the thing that's been taking a toll on her is the fact that she got attacked in an alleyway, and then she got attacked in the WoW arena by people who were just trying to get the upper hand on her and basically take time away from her family and stuff. And she just hated that. So she said even though wrestling is her passion, she said the mental and the emotional stability of her family is what takes precedent. And she said that she is still the biggest and that she is still the baddest. But she took her boots off and sat them on the table next to her and said that this is the last that you will see of the Beast of WoW. I quit. And that's where the episode ended. And they even announced it on their social media platforms after the episode aired. The Beast is no longer with WoW, so I'm assuming that this means that the WoW World title is vacated here again. But it was really a sad way to end because we had not seen the Beast this entire season since her attack and since everybody was playing the blame game of who attacked the Beast and who, did all this over and over again. I imagine all of this really did take, an emotional toll on her, but I thought maybe like always she would just rise above it, but no, not this time. It seems like she really is bowing out. And I feel like it doesn't get any realer than you taking your boots off and, you know, putting your boots not in the ring per se, but still just leaving them there. So it doesn't get any realer than that. But Katrina, how did you feel about the match first and then the segment with the Beast?
Well, the match was definitely a good one. It definitely was hard hitting. I feel like I don't expect really anything less from Santana Garrett. That's something she's kind of always been. And I feel like, in particular with WoW, because of some of the matches she had to be in, I felt like she had to be a little bit more aggressive, even when she was with Americana. Like she was of the two of them, she was probably the one that was a tad bit more aggressive of the two when it came to even their tag matches. And so I thought it was a good match. I thought both ladies, did their thing, but I actually was not surprised with Classmaster winning because she was already doing some kind of shenanigans during the match. And I felt like they made a big deal to have this little plan in play that she got a chance to even have, a title match and all this extra little pieces over the weeks of trying to get a certain outcome. I don't think they would have left that match without winning it. I just feel like I would have been very, very surprised because it seemed like it was like, well, kind of time to finally call in that. Like it was all this building up to like having pieces a certain way. I feel like I would have been surprised if Classmaster didn't win it. And so it's unfortunate because she was doing shenanigans at one point. She was even using the ropes. I'm like, girl, you too big for all that. And I know it's a heel. I know it's a heel thing. And I get that, but you're also way too big to need the ropes. I feel like that's something I would have to do. If I'm 5'2", so if I feel like, oh, I don't know if I can hold on to this pin, let me put my leg and use that, maybe. And even then, I wouldn't do all this. It's a lot of work, you know. Um, so you too big to have to need the ropes. You have literally length to you that you didn't even do all that. Girl, put some upper body strength. If you gotta hold her pen or whatever, you don't need to do all that. You're doing too much. So I wasn't surprised. What I was surprised with, however, is I guess the Beast's announcement. And it was just because I was probably one of her biggest advocates to get that title back because of the shenanigans of a certain somebody in WoW. Okay, just pure shenanigans, pure shenaniganery. I did say I thought David was a little too lax about everything that happened with the Beast. I felt like it was way too many excuses, way too many like, oh well, it shouldn't have been taken to having like Sophia having information before David. Like there's like how does she have more information than you, the owner, have than she does? Like I didn't feel like he was doing his best to make sure the Beast was comfortable but safe. And not saying that she can't handle herself, but clearly she keep having these shenanigans where she's going somewhere or come from somewhere, she's being ambushed or whatever the case may be. That means you guys gonna do things. You can't even be woman to woman in this and just be like, I'm gonna handle it this way. I'm gonna do this way. Let's be sneaky about it. And I don't do well with sneaky. Like you say what you need to say to my face. That's the vibes I'm on. And so um it made me sad because I'm like, girly, no. Just like that's my girl right there. And I've been 100 champion, 100 dominate, and she has been gone in particular for this season. She has been, and I was wondering why. We were wondering why, and so for it to be basically like you're putting because when anybody put their boots in the ring, that means you're done with wrestling. Like it's one thing to leave a promotion, and quit a promotion. That's one thing. When you put the boots in the ring, that means you're done. And I'm like, oh, did this shenanigans made you be like F wrestling altogether? The shock. I don't know if you've been seeing that meme still from Best Man when Terrence Howard was being messy and he has his hand over his hand over his mouth. So he like, ooh, like that's. I'm like, wait a minute, that was me. What do you mean? This made you want to retire? That's a whole different level. You skipped the part of the board. Okay, there's a part of the board that you missed. We're not you on. You skipped the whole part. You went straight to retirement, ma'am. What do you mean? And that's just me. Like, I don't know if I need to write a letter and be like, listen here, really, let's work this out. Because why? I've been waiting for you to be dominating, and it's shenanigans. It made me sad. But I can also understand, like, who wants to deal with shenanigans all the time? That's what retail's for. It's always, and whenever I work retail, you know what I mean. This is holiday season. You know what I mean about retail and people doing the most ridiculous things during holiday time. That's when you have to deal with shenanigans, I guess. But wrestling as a champ and you gotta deal with shenanigans, man, please. She actually was a little bit better about a lot of it. I personally would have been raising all types of hell. They would have hurt my mouth every week. Every week I would have been like, so what are we doing? Since you can't like I'll have to be extra. And I say to somebody, I'll be like, let's circle this. Since you want to act like you don't understand. And I'll circle. I am again petty. I will circle, make sure we both on the same page. So those are vibes. I would have took the video and circled it. What are you not understanding, my guy? What did we not get? What did we not get? I would have been so annoying that he would have been forced to handle it a lot faster than he did. And so it makes me sad. I am sad. And I don't know, if this is like, if she's really done or this is more so for storyline purposes. I have no idea. But if she is truly done, I am very sad just because, oh, I didn't even meet you yet. Like, really, I didn't even get to meet you in a while yet. We didn't get those vibes yet. And I'm very sad about that. But I do hope if it is, again, if it's not part of any storyline and she's actually retiring, because again, boots in the ring, I think is very different than just leaving the company. Um, I do hope whatever she does next, she's happy and, don't have to deal with shenanigans from coworkers because I can definitely understand the vibes. That's why I don't do retail anymore. People were annoying. I don't like dealing with nonsense, okay, from coworkers or customers. I don't like dealing with all that. I don't got that patience for that. So it did make me sad. I was very sad about that. But I guess we'll see how they're going to play off with the title now, I guess, officially, once again, being vacant.
Yeah, when I saw it, I was shook. I was just like, "Excuse me?" Like, I stopped everything and I was like, "Look." I was with my boyfriend. I was like, "Look, I need you to turn off this football game, turn on the recording so we can watch the episode." And because I just needed to know what was going on. And now that I understand her reasoning why, because you try to do things the right way, but then other people aren't on that type of time. And the only way that they feel like they can take you down is by doing the wrong things and by attacking you from the behind. And I can only imagine what that can do to the psyche. And like she said, she has a family, like she has children. So to watch her go for her dreams only to have it snatched away by people who just feel like they can only beat her by being underhanded, and her family having to go through watching her go through that, I completely get that being the reason why. Now on a selfish tip, there's a part of me that wants her to just, you know, rise above it and come back and destroy everyone. But then on another hand, I just want her to be healthy and happy and safe, because everybody deserves that. Everybody deserves to be safe and everyone deserves to work for, the highest honor of what it is that they work for in whatever field that they choose, and not have it snatched away from you due to the shenanigans of other people, who are jealous just because they don't have it. So I get it, but it makes me sad because she is just so dominant. She's so cool. I'll never forget the first time I saw her in a picture. It was before we even started covering WoW. The first time I saw her in a picture, I was just like, man, like who is this woman and why isn't she, you know, in WWE or in TNA or anywhere else, like on like a larger platform? Like, who is this woman? And just watching her in her power, and watching her be champion multiple times has just been one of the best honors of my life as a wrestling fan, because she is just unapologetically herself. And there are other women who have definitely, written the book for her to be who she is. She stands on the shoulders of the Jacquelines and the Jazzes and so many other women and the Chinas of the world. But she was able to revolutionize that for her own self. And to see it end this soon, it's just like, damn, like it's really sad. So I hope that whatever the beast chooses to do, that she's just feeling safe and secure in that. And if she does decide she wants to come back, we're not going to be, mad about that either. So, hey, as long as she's doing what's best for herself, that's all that truly matters. But that was a very sad way to end this episode of WoW. And I guess now that really does mean that the WoW World title is vacant. And now it's going to be up for grabs amongst all of those women. So who knows who will step up and get it. But that's where we end our episode of Steph and Cat Talk Wow. Thank all of you so much for watching us live, wherever you're watching us from. And of course, if you didn't get a chance to catch us live, you can watch us later on both of our YouTube channels, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast and In Cat We Trust. And if you have not checked out WoW Superheroes just yet, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Get your leftovers that you have from Thanksgiving. Sit down this weekend and watch the show. Go on wowe.com, type in your zip code and see what time it comes on for you on basic cable if you watch TV that way. Or you can watch it on their YouTube channel, which is Wow Superheroes. And you can watch it on Pluto TV or like on Samsung TV if you have like the 24-hour Wow channel. And just continue to support the girls, buy their merchandise on Amazon.com and on Pro Wrestling Tees. And just continue to support women's wrestling as a whole, because it's continuing to grow more and more throughout all of wrestling. And it's really amazing to see. We're getting more titles, we're getting more opportunities for the women, and it's just so beautiful to live in the prosperity of women being on top in this industry. So just support women's wrestling in your indies, on the mainstream platforms, and just everywhere else. So, yeah, Katrina, thank you for joining me and being my tag team partner as always. Just tell everybody where they can find and follow you and what you've got going on.
You guys can follow me and Cat We Trust the Ease doing every place but Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. Just kind of keep track on my channel. I know I'm telling you guys that I'll be having it's literally just I am running on like 5 different like I feel like I'm like one mom in a multiverse. I'm doing 20 things. It's always 20 things. Like there's a multiverse of things I'm doing, but there's just me. And so I feel like I'm always doing 20 things. And so I'm never like I feel like I'd be slacking with certain things. Like I get the important things done, but the slacking, like, oh, I'll get to it later, and then I go get to it. And so, but that do keep track of my channel. I do have stuff before the end of the year. I promise. There are things happening and coming, and I plan on doing that. It's just mom and never ends. And just to reiterate to what Steph said about making sure you guys watch well. Yes, do better. You know, that is what I've been telling people for weeks. Do better, be better, do better. And also do better this holiday season. I'm saying this because I've already been seeing some shenanigery. Okay. They'll be coming out here, starting with the retail people, like little people sometimes. I'm not overly and necessarily rude, but if they do some shenanigans, like I had to get on the lady before for Lion about delivering the package that I saw her not deliver. And she tried to say she did. I was like, ma'am, I see you. Do better. I can see, like I'm watching you not even get out of the what you call it. And so she tried to lie. And so that I had to be a little bit of a smart ass to her, because like don't do that. But otherwise, be kind to your fellow delivery person or people in stores, because it's going to get a little bit crazy. It is officially, once Halloween passed, people go right to Christmas mode. But now that Thanksgiving has officially passed, it is definitely straight into Christmas mode. My brother had Christmas decorations up. I was like, oh, okay, well, already. All right. I mean, I guess I don't acknowledge Christmas before my birthday after until my birthday's passed. And so I told my kids I want to hear nothing about Christmas until my birthday passed. And then I can go to Christmas mode. And so just be better, be kind. And definitely as always, support women's wrestling. In particular, wrestling is great, but women's wrestler is even better. So support.
Absolutely. What she said. Please be kind. Please be kind. It's free. It's literally free. Where in a world where you got to pay for a lot of things, it is free to be kind. So be nice. So, of course, support me. I didn't mean to say support me. I mean, well, please, but at the same time, that's not what I meant to say. But either way, you can find me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and on X at Queen Steph Hardy. You can also follow me on Blue Sky at Queen Steph Hardy and on TikTok at Stephanie underscore Hardy. You can listen to my show, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast, everywhere you get your podcasts. That's Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, I think, also Spotify, iHeartRadio, and so many other places. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and click the bell so you're notified every time I go live. And also just follow it on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast and on Twitter at Hardy Wrestle Pod. And just thank you for being supportive and reading all of my articles as well. I am working on some more stuff as well to end the year off right and end the year strong. Um, and yeah, just continue to support us in our wrestling endeavors as we cap off this crazy and amazing year of 2024 and head into 2025 as we celebrate and take stock of everything that we have done and accomplished and just trying to find time to rest and also just enjoy this weekend, which is WrestleK weekend and Survivor Series War Games weekend as well. And I know a good many of you are probably watching SmackDown right now. But thank you if you're watching both of them at the us and them at the same time. Thank you so much for that as well. And just continue to support us in our endeavors. And I'll end this by saying everyone deserves the chance to fly. Everyone. So yeah, I know Katrina's laughing, but either way, Wicked has me in a chokehold. All right. We'll see y'all next time for the next episode of WoW. There's a WoW Trios tag team championship match happening between Top Tier and the Dojo Defender. Between the Dojo Defenders and Valentina Diamante. And there's supposed to be a debut of a new WoW superhero as well. So let's just be on the lookout for that. And you know what? I don't care. I regret nothing. That's my boyfriend, y'all. Um, y'all have a good night. Bye.